are designed for that purpose. And then at the end, we will encapsulate what is basically our vision of the software of the future, or grid orchestration, if you happened to see our announcement at the Distributed conference earlier this year. And so it is GE's vision on how we think the orchestration of the grid will transpire going forward to solve this problem. But before we get to that, everybody obviously has heard of GE, so that's good. I don't have to cover that part. But what you may not have been tracking is really what's been happening to GE over the last several months, and some of the announcements that have come out, splitting us into 3 different companies, right? So I think it was roughly maybe November, December last year, there was a big announcement basically saying, hey, GE is going to split into 3 parts. Part number 1 is healthcare, part number 2 is aviation, and part number 3 was GE Vernova, right?
I'm sorry, what does GE stand for?
General Electric.
General Electric.
Okay. So,
what does Vernova stand for?
great question, because we were all wondering the same thing. We're like, what is that?
GE? Yeah,
You'll notice that they said, well, GE Healthcare, clean, GE Aerospace,
They didn't say
clean,
GE Energy?
Vernova. Yeah, where's the energy, right? So apparently, it means new and green, okay? And on this backdrop, which articulates it kind of poorly, it doesn't look that green. That's a very bad green. But it is green, I assure you, nonetheless. You know, we have to talk with somebody in marketing. But nonetheless, isolating the energy business as GE Vernova is the go-forward strategy, especially for us in this room. And so what that means is it's made up of approximately 12 different entities that make up GE Vernova, from our power generation, gas turbines, wind turbines, things like that, traditional. We have our grid solutions, which is more of your telecom base station, your wires and base stations, your poles, all that kind of stuff. And then we come from the digital side, which is your software. But there are 12 businesses that run Vernova, and they're all designed to be put together in a way that accentuates, the grid of the future and really develop that. So going forward, you'll see a lot of more investor and or announcements about the organization. We're going to eventually spin out our own ticker early next year. We'll be on our own for sure. But roughly we're at $38 billion, almost $40 billion of revenue. And as you can see, there's a lot of employees, almost 74,000 worldwide. So relative to some parts of the business where we may have a geographic emphasis, if you look at all of GE Vernova, it's really a global business trying to have every geography utilize the modern grid.
Is it going to be under a parent company, or is it going to be one parent?
On what?
Is Vernova, is it going to be under a parent company, or is it
That is the parent.
Okay.
That is the parent. So outside of GE, we split into 3 different completely standalone entities, and Vernova is the parent. Right? So that's going to be happening, call it Q1 of 24 officially. For now, it's kind of like slowly inching out as healthcare went out first. So we're here today to talk about orchestrating the clean energy grid. And what that entails is GE Vernova, and for us specifically in the software group who focuses on the grid predominantly, is how do we translate not just the generation side of clean energy, because that's a heavy topic of conversation, but there's also what do you do with the grid to enable all that, to make sure that we have affordable, reliable energy for everybody. And that's where we as the software group are really focused on Grid OS, which we'll talk about later. How do we make that happen? How does software make that happen in a realistic way? And that's what we're talking about here today. So with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Avnaesh.
Yeah, do we want to just do a quick round of introductions?
Oh, we do. Yes, I forgot about that.
So let's maybe just go around the room, just introduce who we are. The next 45 minutes, we're going to focus on those little pieces of paper in each table. You're going to elect a chief and a co-chief, and we're going to ideate a little bit. And then we're going to come back and just sit down and talk about some of the ideas you guys came up with. So this is not about us giving you a spiel or anything, but this is about just having a quick discussion with all of you. So I'll start. My name is Avnaesh Jayantilal. I'm with GE. I'm a product manager. I've been with the company for about 23 years.
Ernest Vitella with Guadalupe Valley Electric Co-op, and I'm a commercial accounts manager. And I've been there for probably about 5 years, I think this past February.
My name is Dusty Felicia. I also work at GVUC. I'm a commercial accounts manager. I've been there about 9 years.
My name is Rob Fairchild. I'm with PSC for about 5 years now, and then 20 years before that I worked with this gentleman.
Shh, don't give the secrets away.
Still a gentleman.
So you're CEO, or what is it? What were you doing?
I'm an engineer.
No, I'm saying for this group.
You're the chief.
Yeah, you're the chief.
Okay.
We need a chief each.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Gail Wooster. I'm also with PSC, which is Power Systems Consulting. And I've been with them for about 3.5 years, and before that, I worked for GE for 23 years.
So
I'm
we're
not
at the
the
right
pro-
table.
Yeah, we're at the right
We did
table, I
good,
think.
Ernest.
I think we're good.
My name is Joshua Triana. I'm the founder and partner relations with Evolution Solutions. We started about 2020, and before that, I have 5.5 years of enterprise system build up alongside, Charter and Comcast.
I'm Joyce Dooley. I'm the Director of Research and Innovation for Z-Prime. I've been with them for 2 years. I have a background in emerging technologies as an analyst and also worked on civic innovation and entrepreneurial programs out of San Antonio. Really happy to be here.
I'm Brad Shadwell with TVA, Innovation Director there. I've been at TVA for about 4.5 months, so learning a lot.
My name is David Sanchez, the National Manager for the Power System Studies Group at TRC, and a background in distribution.
Russell Boyer with Dell Technology. I've been with Dell for about 4 years, starting their utilities practice, and before that I worked for a utility and for service providers.
Rafat, I'm with Black and Beach, been there for about over 15 years. We're a EPC infrastructure company. We do EPC for energy and water, telecom, so glad to be here and looking forward to this.
Everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm a solution engineer for Esri, so I've been with the company for about 3 years now in the utilities and infrastructure space. Before that, I was working for municipalities running asset management programs for wastewater and stormwater. So I'm relatively new to electric. I do a lot of work on the electric vehicle space and what the grid's going to look like as we move forward.
Chris Berry, I'm with Savion. We're a project developer of solar and battery storage. I'm a project developer based here in Austin.
Kevin Chung, I'm Managing Director of PSC Power Systems Consultants. Been there with the company for about 5 years, and before that I spent about 10 years with GE.
Because Stewart, I'm a part of Partners and Alliances team, and this is my week 3 with GE.
We good? We good? Thank you. Welcome, everybody. If you want to leave, you better leave now, because we're going to lock the doors, and it'll be too late for you guys. So I have to wear this jacket because I got this name thing, but I'm going to take this out. Okay. Wow. Sweating. So what I'm focused on is I work a lot with distribution utilities globally, and we're about providing software for real-time controls, whether it be in the control room, whether it be on the substation level, or also at the edge. And today, we're going to look into some of the drivers that we see from utilities, like you guys out there, and also from our partners, some of you guys out there, that are implementing some of these solutions. So when we look at the rate of change of what's happening out there, we're in Texas, where all hell broke loose last year this time, nearly broke loose again this year, and it's becoming a trend globally. It's not just a Texas thing, unfortunately. You can't claim it. It's a thing that's happening throughout our customer base around the world. And we're seeing it in the US, we're seeing it in Europe, we're seeing it in Asia Pacific. So we are seeing an unprecedented change in the climate we live in, and it's impacting a lot of our assets. All our assets are above ground. Tornado comes through, hurricane comes through, tropical storm comes through, they get blown away, like it or not, right? So everything we put out there is going to get blown away at some stage or the other. So the question is, how much smarts do we put out there, and how do we protect those equipment that's out there? So that's one. Two, on the West Coast, which I am part of, where I live, and some of you, we never had days of 100 degrees that much. We had 115 for what, 4 straight days 2 years ago? nothing blew up because nobody has air conditioning in the Pacific Northwest. But right after that, everybody putting air conditioning. So the next time we have a 115-degree day, you can assume there's going to be major challenges for electric grid operators out there. That's the thing. We're having a lot of forest fires. So you can't go out. You got to stay in. To stay in, you got to air condition yourself. You got to keep yourself going. So it's a thing in the West Coast. So we're seeing that rate of change as well. We're seeing a lot of new data out there. We're seeing a lot of new sensors. Somebody here is from Savion, is it? You're putting out new stuff out there. That new stuff has a lot of information coming in. It's all coming into the utilities. It's coming into our homes. We're able to do stuff with it, right? You're able to put, in most places in the US today, you're able to put solar PV on your rooftop without actually asking your utility for help or advice or permission. You're able to go do it, right? EV is a thing, right? EV is growing no matter where you live. And those EVs, we are actually talking about using telematics within the EV to do things with the EV in terms of V2G, in terms of enabling that EV to perform during outages, et cetera. So there's new innovation that's coming to us as consumers, to our homes, to our vehicles, and our communities. And that's changing the amount of data that's coming back into the utility world and then back into our homes. So it's all about data. The question is, what do we do with the data, and how do we use that data, right? So I've met a number of utilities over the last few months that have said, we're not an asset company, we're a data company. That's our vision, right? And it's pretty interesting, some of the things that they're sharing with me, some of the strategies they're using in terms of how they're going to use data to grow their business, right? It's not just about selling KWH anymore. It's about using data and leveraging the data to grow your business, right? So it's almost like utilities woke up after 20 years of Netscape or 30 years of Netscape and said, oh, wow, we should be in the same business, right? We forgot about that. So it's changing. It's going to change very, very fast, I think, as well, with some of the innovation we're seeing. So it's about data. The question is how we're going to use the data. So what we have today, and we're on time, so we'll spend about 45 minutes. And it's not a free-for-all, but I'd like us to maybe focus a little bit on ideating kind of some of the challenges you see as a consumer, i.e. someone that lives at home that wants to buy an EV or put solar PV on your rooftop, as the company you work for in terms of what you're doing today, in terms of how you're going to use data moving forward and what that data means to you. How could you do better with more data? Right? So it's about data. And three, just generally thinking around what does digitizing mean in the new world that we live in? Do we put a chip on everything that moves, walks, and breathes? Right? AI is a thing. AI is not going to stop. We are having brains everywhere. My wife's a high school teacher and is having way fun of her life trying to figure out what's being created by ChatGPT and what's not from ChatGPT. And that's the thing. My 12-year-old son is programming using ChatGPT-4 today, which I didn't know you could do. But he's doing it. That's the thing. So there's chips everywhere. There's data everywhere. How is that going to change our work moving forward, right? How are we going to become smarter in this? It's not just about booking flights anymore. It's a bit more than that right now. So again, you have some pads. I would like you to select a chief, leader, whatever term you're used to, Hefe. Wow. Welcome. All right, all the new guys will get all the actions. We need you to come to the front table or the side table because we need to fill in the blanks here a little bit. Okay, so how is it going to work? We're going to split into groups. And so, hello, Angie. Good to see you. So we have 3 tables, which is great. You got 3 boards, okay? You got a flip chart for everybody. And I want you guys first to start off with identifying some challenges that you see with what I just talked about, where the future is. You got some utility people here, so great people to go dig their brains with, right? What are their problems going to be? It doesn't matter how big you are as a utility, I think. Whether you're a 5,000 muni co-op or you're a 5 million FPL, you're going to have the same problems, like it or not. And it's going to kind of require the same solutions at the end of the day, in my opinion, especially when it comes to data. So let's ideate about what what do you think is going to be driving the utility industry, right? Let's take an example. Almost every state, almost, not every, but almost every state has a target of when they want to go renewable or when they're going to get rid of ICE vehicles. It's 2030, I think, in Washington State. I think it's 2035 in California. I don't know where it is in all different states, but it's coming, right? There's some ambitions, except politicians don't have the money behind the ambitions, but that's a different story. But they're ambitions, right? So if that's the problem statement, and you guys get to pick a problem statement each as a group, then dive into root causes. What does that mean, right? What does it mean to have 20% EVs? Are they all going to charge at the same time? How can you charge an EV, right? Or another example, if all your school buses were electric, does that make that school bus depot now a critical customer? If that school bus is not charged, your kids don't get to go to school. So you can't operate anymore, right? So something like that. So start thinking around those lines. What are the root causes of these ambitions that we all have? And then maybe talk about some solutions, right? Root causes and solutions. What do you think we could do to help? It doesn't have to be too deep. It can be really high level. Don't worry, right? But it's about ideation. And I'd like you to present your findings to us, and we'll share a little bit. And then maybe if we have time, we'll talk a little bit more about GE and bore the heck out of you. But if we don't have time, that's great. That means we did what we're supposed to do here, which is just to have a conversation and to understand why we're here in the first place. Does that help set the level? So we had some new people join us. So we're going to help them maybe introduce themselves, if you don't mind. I know you just joined us.
Yeah, so I'm Savannah Sandoval, also GE, so channel account manager with them, the grid software sales side of things.
Thank you.
Also from GE, my name is Angie Cardenas, been with GE for 10 years now, and I am supporting the West Coast for our digital software.
Hi, I'm Pranav. I work on a grid management startup, and we're targeting cooperatives in Alaska and indigenous tribes in Washington State and Hawaii, and trying to create a hybrid AC/DC microgrid for them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's the coolest thing anybody else has said here. You're not escaping today.
I hate to go after Hill, but I'm Dale Claudio. I'm EVP of Energy Utilities for Black & Veatch. We're a large EPC and consulting contractor globally.
Yep, nice to meet you, Dale. Okay, so any questions?
Do we get to own the IP?
There are no lawyers in the room. There's a reason for that. You get to do whatever you want with your IP that you create. And maybe if we are good enough, he could create an app for us.
Was that recorded? Is that recorded?
Doug, did I miss anything?
No.
Okay, so me and Doug, we will come across your tables. We'll leave it to your selected chief to own the board and the writing. I think there should be pens. I don't know if you want to put it on a board or how you want to do it, but go.